The next speaker was leading the German social network StudiVZ through hard years. He fights against Facebook and Groupon, and he will share with you some secret strategies startups can follow, and they can also, of course, use this to fight against big players. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage. I hope he has already a microphone and he is in the area, Michael Brehm. Are you there? Yeah, Michael, please come on stage. Applause for Michael.
So, ja, herzlichen Dank für, sorry, in English. So thanks a lot for the warm welcome. I'm very happy to be here and share some of my experiences. So I'm a tech entrepreneur from Germany. I've built several larger technology companies. I'm also invested in a lot of startups, helped to set up Redstone Digital, a VC as a service advisor for large corporates to invest in startups, and are now running operationally my fourth company and the third tech startup, I2X, in the space of artificial intelligence. But we're going to speak about an interesting topic because I had the unfortunate pleasure to be in a pretty stiff competition with two very large companies during my career. So let's directly start with StudiVZ, at the time largest social network in Germany and actually continental Europe. And then obviously Facebook came, so how did this go? Maybe I want to start with one of the best decisions we have done there and one of the worst mistakes I've made at the time. So which is also leading to how the relationship there was. So one of the things was when we had built StudiVZ, and then it was clear it works for students. So we also wanted to do this for pupils. And then so there were like dozens of other companies that also want to do this for pupils, and we thought, what do pupils want? What does our clients want? And then one of the first questions was what color to put the new network. It's one of my favorite stories there. It taught me a lot of learnings. And then most of the other companies had said it needs to be cool, black or dark green, stuff like that, because obviously you have 15-year-old guys and they need a cool website. But now I ask you, what do you think a 15-year-old boy is most interested in?
Girls.
Yes, absolutely. It's actually not math, it's also in the end not football, it's girls. So we thought, okay, forget about the boys. We're discriminating here a little bit. Just focus on the girls. And we made the website pink. Everybody thought we were crazy, but we're building a closed pink network. Obviously the girls loved it. The boys hated it, but it was a lot more fun to be on the network with all the girls hanging out than being on the black one, just where you're alone. And it was, it taught me so much because it was a decision that cost zero. You had to put one color. It just required some thinking. And what we did is just really focus on and thought about what do our clients want. And there are 100 other examples that I can tell you, which within our group of the VZ networks that we did, where we really had a tailored product for Germany, for our market, which in the end I think made it to this huge success at the beginning. Where at the peak we had close to 20 million users. And that's also something, I apply this now everywhere. Even if you have a B2B startups, what do your clients want? It's often not what you think in the first place. Sometimes it's not that they get great data, maybe it's just that you put the presentation in a nice format so they don't have to worry about it to give it to their boss. And that's why they buy their product, your product. So, and also in general, I think you shouldn't be afraid too much about large competition. If you really tailor your product to your market, to your customers, you'll have a big advantage. So that one went very well. Then what went very bad was one thing, we actually put out new terms of use. And you think no big thing. You just put them out and that's it. Every company does this every 1 or 2 years, all good. We actually absurdly didn't remind ourselves that we were a social network. So without any comment, we sent our new terms of use to 100,000 law students and 100,000 journalistic students. Guess what happened? So the first 2 or 3 days, nothing happened actually. And we said, oh, fantastic, it was very nice. We sent it out before Christmas. We thought that's easy. And then the largest, I don't know, shitstorm you can imagine came over us, because obviously they all discussed in groups. I don't know anybody who studied law at that time who didn't have our terms of use in their courses. So everybody who did an internship, like whatever, at any newspaper, magazine, whatever, wrote about it, any radio show. Within 6 weeks, we got over 100,000 press mentionings, and it was very negative ones. That at the time, in January 2008, was from 2007 to 8, I think Saddam Hussein was executed, and in the Tagesschau, in the main news in Germany, it was about 40 seconds, and our new terms of use were 1 minute 20. I mean, so what, and why does it matter? Because we are in a country where actually the perception of the population and also the legal ecosystem about data and data protection is very different from the US. So as a result of this, we actually allocated 70 to 80% of our resources to develop data protection feature, while the other networks, and I would, no matter from where they came, could build features. It's very tough to kind of compete in such an environment. It's actually, I would even say it's close to impossible. And it's a structural thing where everybody of us has to think about, if you're located in Europe and there is now new legislation coming out, how do you deal this in a global market? And it's not only going to be the Americans, it's like even more going to be like Chinese companies that are coming here. And I mean, I don't need to tell you about data protection laws in China. This was something that just, and then it came over a long time because you build up technical debt in a way that you develop things that from a user perspective make the product worse and not better, and then they materialize over several days. And we were growing for many years. I left StudiVZ in 2008 until 2010, 11, it went really great, it was profitable, it was actually a very successful company, but now in the last couple of years it was tough. The other thing that I saw is, if you manage to get a company with a huge scale, you have incredible advantages, because you, in technology and in software, you have often a very big fixed cost block. So you need to see that you get to a scale as big as possible, because then you can distribute a lot of your fixed cost over, let's say, many more users, more accounts, whatever. And that's a huge advantage. That's why even if sometimes it looks stupid, like why are they trying to grow so much, invest so much in marketing or customer acquisition, in the end, that really turns off. And then the other thing, what's obviously super impressive is the vision that Mark Zuckerberg has and had, and the way he executed it. And this is something you see in many cases. If you have a founder, a founding team, and actually Florian also mentioned it here, that's like has a super strong vision and is not driven by like, how do I get the next exit, something. They are like much more likely to win against any larger corporation, existing corporation, or even smaller startup that's just looking for a quick buck. So that's about Facebook and StudiVZ. The other one, then after StudiVZ, I thought, okay, now I want to do something like more local, so with e-commerce. So I thought, like, why not get involved into the whole daily deal space? That's super local, so no problem with that. No large American companies fighting with amazing. And then obviously there was Groupon and another huge battle. But then I thought, okay, now I need to get to scale very fast and tech. So we actually invested a lot in tech from the very beginning. Just 9 months in, we actually acquired the first mobile tech team. I was very lucky to be able to raise a lot of money. We expanded within 2 years into 30 countries, hired 10,000 people, and still tried to adapt it to local markets. So that went very differently, and we're able to win in a lot of markets. And ultimately, for example, in Germany, Daily Deal that was part of this network we sold to Google. So that was went a lot better. Maybe what am I doing now? Actually, what learnings do I take from my new company? It's called I2X. The vision is to help humans to stay competitive with respect to computers. So we actually give people tools to record themselves, analyze them, how they especially in customer support, in sales function, if you want to sell something, and then our software tells you what to say better, speak faster, slower, say that, don't say that. And I truly believe in that artificial intelligence will have a huge disruption and put a lot of people out of work, but we need to find ways to then teach them faster, and not the traditional way, like put them 3 or 4 years in some education, and then maybe actually the job you trained them for is already gone again. And that's what we do. So we have a pretty strong vision. I don't want to sell the company fast. I want to build it. We have very strong tech focus. 80% of our people are engineers, which actually is also something that's interesting. If you look at a lot of the core products, even of large companies, they are seldomly developed by more than 15 or 20 people. It's a myth that you say, oh, there's this company, it has like 10,000 people, and think that 10,000 people work on a product. If you look at like who is really the core people who developed Siri, who are the core people who developed maybe Gmail, or pick any product, it's seldomly more than 10, 20, 30 people. And if you focus on tech and not on marketing spending, where actually in Europe in general we have a huge disadvantage because of our market, separated market, different languages, and access to capital. If you focus on tech, that's something where I think we can win. We also try to be very fast. I introduced a few rules that work out very well. For example, we have a 24 and 48-hour rule. That means any business decision that doesn't have costs of more than 2,000 euros, if you ask whoever would be in charge of it, you don't get an answer within 24 hours, you make the decision yourself. And no matter how, because sometimes it's like if a graphic designer says, can I buy this product for like 50 euros? And then he has to wait for a week or two before his boss or whoever says, okay, that's impossible, it's not. So, and that's like easy things that make the life of people on a daily basis a lot easier. I can recommend that. And then obviously constant interaction with the customer. Also, one thing I think we're much too shy about, and in general Americans are a lot better, is go out and ask people if they would buy a product, even before you found the company. Get an LOI. Why do you need a ready product to sell it? Because if you had a ready product, you would put a marketing brochure together and then try to go to potential customers. So just do this before you even start a company. And if you get 10, 20 LOIs in the B2B space, or if you acquire hundreds of leads on Facebook and Google, perfect, then start a company, but not before. So that's what we also do there and what we did. The other thing that I think is super important with respect to HR, have people who are intrinsically motivated. The key question is, how do you get people that really love what they do? And one of the things that, for example, I'm now doing is try to do it. It doesn't always work, but let people freely choose on what project they work on. What do they want to do? Because then, if you have a team where everybody's selected by free will to work on this topic, if somebody doesn't push through, if somebody doesn't perform as the others, it's actually a pretty easy self-selection. Because many times you don't have to do anything. The others won't tolerate that there's a free rider in the team. People love what they're working on. You also don't have to tell them, like, come in at this time and then don't leave before that time. So this has a lot of power. Now, maybe to conclude before opening for a few questions, some of the learnings I've taken. Look for a problem. If you want to start a company, or even like if you have an existing company and want to launch new products, don't look for a business model, look for a problem. And if you really look at a lot of super successful companies, they at the very beginning always went after a certain problem and never said, oh, I wanna follow this business model and I wanna become rich very fast. In the least amount of cases, that worked out tremendously well. And one of the most impressive people I've seen is actually Slate, the founder of the Ocean Cleanup. What does he do? He was 16 and said, I want to clean oceans from plastic. It's a crazy idea. It's a crazy mission. Like everybody at the beginning he told this to said, this dude is totally out of his mind. Impossible to do. And now he has actually built huge pipes and walls, hundreds of kilometers long, to put in 5 or 4 currents. And he's on a very good way after 6 years to actually accomplish the mission. And if it works out as he says, he will have cleaned the ocean by 25 to 50% of plastic. It's impressive. But this is because he was so driven, and he had a vision and a mission, and he just followed through. And it's amazing to see the power, also how you can get other people to follow you and to work with you if you have this mission. Then also, it's like now obviously a lot of people say like, you have to do startups and it's so good, but then it's a big step. Like to say, okay, now I do a company, I leave everything behind. It's hard, it's really hard. So don't start with a company, start with an idea and like iterate it. Don't found a company immediately. It puts so much pressure and weight on you, everything around your whole family ecosystem. Just see how it's going. The good thing is you don't need to found a company immediately to test stuff. So do this and then listen to your customers. Then the other thing is, are you really passionate about what you plan to do, no matter what it is? It's so hard to build a successful company, no matter what it is, or business. And you have so many ups and downs. It's incredible. It's a really emotional ride. If you are not passionate and if you are not willing to like work 10 years on it, don't do it. And I've seen it so many times where people with amazing CVs, amazing background, and just but went after there because they thought, oh, this is so great and so cool, and I just read in the press, it's all going up. Actually, don't believe anything that's in the press. It's like a very selective, or not, it's wrong, but don't believe that that's the only way. If you read like TechCrunch or Gründerszene, you have the feeling that every startup is getting like a multi-million financing after a few months' time of existence. It's not the truth. 98% of the startups don't get any financing, and the other 2 had to fight very, very hard for it. Really be passionate and ask yourself if you would want to do this 10 years. If you can't sleep at night because you don't follow this certain idea, then you know this is the right thing, I should go for it. And the last thing, it's actually one of the hardest things in general, it's like leadership. And like managing teams and growing companies, it's like a constant learning process. It never stops, but it's so important. Like the culture you're building, it's a really differentiating factor. I think often also very neglected. To build a great culture, it's a lot of work, very hard, and needs to be done over and over again. And yeah, that's basically my few thoughts. Thanks a lot for listening, and now we have a few minutes for questions. Yeah, you're welcome.
First, your applause. Michael,
great. Thank you, Michael. Exactly what you said. The question round is open now. Wait again for the microphone, Florian. I think we'll bring you a microphone if you ask a question, in case you sit in the first row. Okay, you want to ask a question, or you want to wave to the other lady? It's great. Also, waving is nice. Who wants to ask the first question to Michael? Yes, gentleman in the first row.
So what did you actually do when Facebook came? So what kind of measures did you take in order to prevent? Well, I actually used StudyVZ very heavily. Then I moved to Facebook. But like, what measures did you have to prevent this, maybe, so users changing towards Facebook?
Yeah, so I mean, 2 things. One is we tried, it was clear after a while, so we tried to really build a tailored product, which actually for many years worked very well. Germany was one of the last countries on broad scale to fall down to Facebook, and it drove them totally crazy. They tried from 2007, it didn't work, 2008 it didn't work, 2009 it didn't work. It was like they basically everything except I think China and Russia and Germany was Facebook land. So we did a pretty good job there. The other thing, and that was in the end you have to say wrong assumption, we thought we will win with data protection features against Facebook. And that just wasn't true. Like journalists loved it, politics loved it, but was not where users followed. And then, and the other thing, we obviously tried to kind of also build out innovative tools, like launch a local gaming app, a little bit like the Facebook App Store. So we did also similar things where you adapted. But after a while, you just figure that that you have a big disadvantage in terms of how much you can spend on tech. But I mean, the two things. So one thing worked really well. In the end, we were very local. It was we were able to defend it for a long time. And the other one was just the wrong assumption. Yeah.
Okay, gentleman here. Yeah.
My question is if there was a big difference between SchülerVZ and StudiVZ in compared to Facebook, because I can imagine that, for example, SchülerVZ, due to the protected data, was more favorable for parents allowing their kids to use the internet, to use the social media. So was there a big difference or not at all?
Absolutely, there was a huge difference. But now the thing is, most of the parents like to think that they have an influence what their 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds kid do, yeah. And they also can give recommendations. Unfortunately, they are like, a 15-year-old kid does not always follow the recommendations of their parents.
No?
I think that's the problem here. Yeah.
Okay. Question answered. Next question. It's on.
Okay, one question. From my side, not being German, my question was, was there a time where you thought you have to go beyond Germany? I mean, in terms of what we saw from Facebook was very much internationalization, very fast. How was it about that?
Yeah, also we actually tried to internationalize actually a lot before Facebook. One wrong thing is we didn't connect the platforms. We thought we would need to be so fast because there was so much competition that we just replicated the platform, but therefore actually didn't have a lot of the network effects. I think if that was also one thing, if we had taken a few more months and then launched the Spanish, Italian, French, Polish version just as one huge connected platform, maybe it would have been a little bit different or longer. In the end, I actually think that in this very specific case, you have such a strong network effect that no matter what, and you see this currently, no strategy in the world would have had a chance against that.
One last question is possible right now. Is somebody back in the room? No. Waved his hand. Okay, yeah, okay. Second question, great. Yes.
Did you also have a data strategy behind? So were you already working with data as Facebook then did? I mean, to me, you were very early on. So I don't know if these things came later and maybe Facebook used also more the power of data?
Of course, I mean a lot. We actually were one of the only companies that developed like a self-booking tool where you basically a little bit like AdWords where you can book it in yourself, like what to show to people. It was in the end it was a true data company, and we actually also had amazing talent in terms of the engineers that worked there. But if you have something that's like 10, 100 times bigger, it's pretty hard to compete.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for the moment. Thank you very much, Michael Brehm.